If you can get these 3 things right in the first 3 months of working with an executive assistant, you are going to get your time back, your headspace back, and you are going to stop being the bottleneck in your business. In this video, I'm going to take my 13 years of experience being an executive assistant, an operations manager, and now running my own team. I'm going to walk you through what those first 3 months look like and what you need to do in each one. I call this the first 90 days. And I have watched this play out with founders across so many different industries and business sizes. There are 3 phases to do this, and each one has a job to do. If you are someone who just hired an EA and it is already feeling harder than you expected, this is for you. If you are getting ready to hire one and you want to know what you're walking into, this is also for you. And if you've tried this before and it did not work out, I especially want you to watch this because what I'm about to share is probably going to explain exactly what happened. So let's get into it. Hey friends, I want to address something because I think a lot of founders go into this with the same expectation. They think, I bring someone on and I immediately get my time back. That's not how it works at all. And when that does not happen, when week 2 feels just as heavy as week 1, they think something went wrong. But that is not what's happening. Month 1 is not about getting your time back yet. Month 1 is about putting in the work up front so that someone else can eventually take things off your plate. You are building something, and building takes time before it gives back. So the question is not, why is this hard? The question is, do you know what you're supposed to be doing right now so that months 2 and 3 pay off? That is what this video is gonna walk you through. So I want to share a story with you. I work with the founder of a membership community of 10,000 go-to-market leaders worldwide. By the time he came to us, he had already burned through 2 approaches, trying to fix his calendar problem. First, he went the AI route, investing in scheduling tools and calendar assistants. And his verdict was straightforward. It doesn't really work because AI always gets something confused. Then he tried managing it himself, personally handling every schedule and conflict. And that ended up the same way. He said, it just became a total mess. But the part that really got him was not the chaos in his calendar. It was what that chaos was doing with the people around him. The ones who are counting on him to show up prepared and on time. There's a feeling like a lot is going on, that founder said. A lot was going on and you're letting people down. That's the worst feeling. You're dropping the ball and it's impacting people. That is the position a lot of founders are in at the start of month 1, where every system they tried has already failed and handing things over to another person feels slower and more uncertain than just doing it by themselves. What they don't realize is that month 1 is not about speed. It's about getting someone else close enough to how you think, that they can eventually make good decisions on your behalf. That only happens when you invest the time up front to share your working style, your preferences, and what good work looks like to you, rather than handing tasks over and hoping the person figures it out. So if you are in week 2 and 3 and it still feels heavy, that is not a signal to pull back. That is just what the front end of a real working relationship looks like before it starts to pay off. Now let me bring in another client we work with, a founder of a RevOps consulting agency. When he first came to me in 2017, he had one problem that was consuming a significant part of every single day. His inbox had completely gone out of control. And he described it this way. It was getting to a point where client emails, prospect emails, partner emails, it was just so heavy. He had worked through the standard fixes, Gmail labels, auto filters, inbox management techniques, and none of them made a dent because he was trying to solve a volume problem with an organization system. And those 2 are 2 completely different things. Month 2 is where the real work of building that foundation begins. And for this founder, it started with us learning how he operated rather than how an inbox is theoretically supposed to work. We studied his communication style, figured out which contact requires same-day response and which ones could wait. And we built the process around his actual working life so that he never had to think about the inbox as something he needed to manage himself. And then we made sure to close the loop consistently, reaching out to tell him what was moving, flagging what genuinely needed his attention, and handling everything else without him having to ask. This is something I teach every EA on my team because it matters more than people realize. Your executive is not sitting on their inbox watching your updates roll in. So if you're waiting for them to notice the progress you're making, they will not see it. And the trust you're trying to build will not form. This founder felt that shift faster than he expected. I would not have to think about or put mental equity into what emails I need to respond to, he said. Everything was just queued up in a nice, neat, and orderly fashion. And that's immensely valuable. By the end of month 2, the systems are in. The communication rhythm was working, and he had stopped carrying the weight of the inbox and the back of his head wherever he went, which is exactly the kind of cleared mental space that month 3 runs on. Month 3 does not come with a big announcement. It just shows up and you notice that things are starting to get resolved before you even knew they needed attention. For that community founder, that shift settled into something he described simply as peace of mind. And when he unpacked what that meant for his work, the answer was more concrete than you expect. The business is dependent on the speed of my decision making, he said. My assistant, by effectively managing my calendar and taking care of a million little details, enables me to be more present, to make better decisions, and to make them more quickly. He even mentioned that he was sleeping better, getting a higher quality sleep score because the details that used to sit unresolved in the back of his mind had become someone else's job to crack and close out. Now, for a completely different picture of what month 3 can look like, there is another client of ours who is a RevOps consulting company who came to us in early 2024. While the company was growing fast, the entire leadership team was stretched past their limit. Before working with us, the CEO's EA could only work at night because she had a day job, which meant every time-sensitive thing that came in during business hours, a prospect message, a scheduling conflict, a fast-moving opportunity, sat completely untouched until the next morning when the window had already closed. We matched her with one of our EAs, and within 2 days, she noticed a difference. She's already making impact, organized, follows through, and available, she said. And then she did something that ended up changing the whole company. A few months after working with us, she decided to hire 4 more EAs to help their executive leadership team. Their president was skeptical at first and said he didn't think he needed an EA. But a few months later, his Salesforce data was clean and reliable. His personal calendar was under control, and he was able to say, "We went from hiring 4 people at a time to hiring 20. Our data problems pretty much resolved." Their talent acquisition manager was carrying 30 open roles at peak, which is triple the standard recruiter load. And with the EA support behind her, she hit a 100% offer acceptance rate in a single week. That's against an industry standard which is 85 to 90%. She also said something that stuck with me. "It makes me happy in my job. It makes me feel fulfilled in the work that I do." In 8 months, that company grew from 30 to 80 employees, and the leadership team got less overwhelmed as the company got bigger, which is the opposite of what happened when a company scales that fast. And once the right support is in place and the structure was built, they could finally focus on running their business instead of being swallowed by the day-to-day. So if you are in month 1 right now and it feels harder than you expected, that is okay. That doesn't mean it's not working. That is just what the beginning looks like when you are doing it right. And if you have been burned before by a hire that did not work out, I want you to know that most of the time, it's not about finding a better person. It's about going in with a real plan, real structure, and real expectations from day 1. That is what I've learned after 13 years of doing this work. as an EA, as an operations manager, and as someone who has built and led my own team. If you want to go deeper on what that looks like, how to hire the right person, how to onboard them properly, and what to hand off first, I have a whole video on that. I will link it right here. Make sure you subscribe because that is exactly what this channel is for. I will see you in the next one.